Alright, Booyakasha! Welcome back dito sa latest episode ng Nexus slash Deep Dive slash soon to come the greatest show, podcast show. Bro, from undisclosed location na hindi Dubai, na hindi Abu Dhabi, na hindi alam ni Harry Roque. Kasama po natin si Professor Lisandro Claudio, otherwise known as Leloy Claudio.
Hello,
Welcome,
hello, hello.
Leloy.
How are you
Welcome,
today?
Leloy.
Things are great. Pasensya na, hindi ata available si Edo Manzanas today. Kaya tayo na muna from an undisclosed location in Quezon City.
Talagang naka-blurred pa eh. Medyo baka may makita
Ah,
tayo dyan. Millions and millions. Ito na bro, ang dami nag-bash sa akin sa Trump impression. Hindi nila alam. Hindi nila alam tao. Ikaw may kasalanan. You brought
yung
out
trap
the
impression.
impressionist, hindi naman talent, but impressionist competitiveness in me. Kaya,
Nalulungkot nga ako bro kasi ang favorite impression ko pa rin Cheese Escudero. Paano pag hindi na siya Senate President? Pag nakabalik na si Tito Sen at malaos na si Cheese Escudero, ang ating Cheese Escudero impression ay hindi na kasing uso ulit.
unless he becomes the vice president, which
Unless he becomes the
we
vice
can
president.
discuss.
Yan ang mga pagbabago na mangyayari sa 2025. Of course, the restructuring of the Senate, 'di ba? Ang pagbabalik siguro ang Senate President mo talaga siguro si Tito Sen talaga ang magiging Senate President mo. That's what it's looking like, yung pagbabalik ng macho block sa Senado with Tito Sen and Ping Lacson, things like that. Anyway, sorry, pambungad lang 'yan. Naisip ko lang 'yan because we were on the topic of
No, no, no,
impression.
no. We will go to your favorite
Oh,
guy. Good morning. Good morning.
oh, yes, 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 yes. So, kasi last night, yung isang tulfo naman nakipag-away kay Richard Gomez, di ba?
Oh, oo nga.
Aba, oo, di ba? Ang saya.
Bro, wala na. Philippines is
Herman
officially the
Tulfo
most
versus
exciting.
Richard Gomez.
Wag lang si Richard Haydarian kasi nung
Okay.
isang araw, tinignan ko, inaway din niya si Rendon Labador. Kilala mo ba yan? Basta,
Hindi, hindi.
basta may mga trashy vloggers yan, bro. Nasabi nung isang vlogger na trashy na yan, sabi niya, hindi ako papatol sa mga matatanda. Tapos sabi ni Ben Tulfo, balita ko, Rendon, sabi mo, you're not gonna fight with elderly people. Yan, ganun.
Um, you said you weren't gonna fight with elderly people.
Balita ko,
Ako.
kinamon niya.
Oo, pinahamon mo ako.
20 years, 20, eto na bro, lalo ako mababash ng mga kabilang channels dahil sa'yo. I mean, okay, okay, like, eto na naman tayo. I always said, Leloy, and you should take this as a compliment, otherwise unfriend na kita. If there's only one person I consider as my rival, it's you. In a sense that,
Ay, grabe.
no, 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 I mean it in a good way. In a sense that in terms of overlap in temperament, yung sabog tayo pareho, di ba? Ang dami natin ginagawa. Like, like, I think both of you and I are kind of undiagnosed ADHD.
Bro,
Like, we
bro,
have to get.
may sakit, hindi na dapat treat as karamdaman or sakit ang ADD ngayon. I just read an article about it, 'di ba? Because before diagnosed siya as a kind of mental illness, 'di ba? It was a sign of poorer mental health. Pero in certain ways, it can be used as a kind of superpower sa tingin ko.
So that's why
May
you're my only
energy din,
rival.
may energy din yung ADD eh, 'di ba? Alam ko, nako, and yung maganda sa ADD, hindi siya parang manic depressive. Kasi yung manic depressive, 'di ba, may energy tapos babagsak. Yung ADD hindi necessary. Pwede ka naman mapagod, of course. Pero hindi siya babagsak in the same way that you get with, you know, that bout of mania that turns into depression. I think we're still happy people. So I think I agree. ADD should not be ADD is is a sign of neurodivergence. Of course, it's neurodivergent, but it doesn't feel like an illness, does it? Ako lang. Parang I really enjoy ADD life.
Just to be clear, undiagnosed. So this is self-diagnosis. Baka balahura lang ako. Baka I'm just balahura. But bro,
Diagnosed ako, but I stopped. I took medication nung grad school. So ADD medication got me through grad school. And then I realized nga na parang you can harness it in such a way na you just ride out yung moments of hyper-focus and then you turn that into bouts of productivity. So, pwede siyang gamitin. Pwede siyang
but that's also because, bro,
gawing superpower.
you can see I'm so ADHD, right? Like you're not even finished yet. I need to talk like, but I'm still understanding you. No, ang point ko is, but I mean, you and I also try to do that in my own. You try to keep the energy with a healthy lifestyle. We spend a
Mm,
few days together and all of that, and you're quite a healthy guy. You eat very
salamat.
lean food. You go to jiu-jitsu, etc. So actually, my self-care ka, diba? So that's why you can sustain the energy. Wala kang ups and downs. Steady, strong ka lang, bro. Knock on the wood, right?
Tsaka nagpinakitaan mo na rin ako ng mga taekwondo moves mo, bro. Grabe. Ano na, late 30s, high kicking pa rin. Tapos syempre, yung mga ibang nasa Reddit, gago, sinasabihan ka, wag ka nang humay kick. Ha? Wag ka na raw humay kick, sabi ng Reddit. Frivolous daw yun, pare.
Buti nga mga taga-Reddit lang nagbabash, mga kabilang channel din. Just to be clear, I'm gonna do the legit proper version one with stretching and all with a bunch of other folks. Team Lakay and I'm gonna visit some of the MMA people here in Baguio. And then of course, yung idol mo.
Team Lakay, bibisitahin mo?
Oo naman.
Lakas.
Tapos may
Galing.
si James naman, karate champion ng SEA Games naman sa Manila. I'm hoping to do also some stuff with him. Also, si Meggy, right? Yung champion Abu
Meggy
Dhabi.
Ochoa, it's a Meggy
Yeah,
Ochoa. I saw your
exactly.
picture
So,
with Meggy
yeah,
Ochoa.
so
Galing.
I'm just saying, bro. Yes, yes, we're, yeah, just saying. So yung mga nagpapatawa sa atin, hintayin na lang pag naka-stretching na to, yung turning kicks na
Pag
natin.
nagkunatan ng konti, o konting
Oo.
na kailangan, oo.
Pero bro, ikaw, kamusta ang jiu-jitsu ka mamaya, di ba? From on
Oo, mag-jiu-jitsu
location?
ako mamaya. Naghanap ako ng I've been trying out a lot of gyms dito sa Pilipinas. At I realized napakaganda ng jiu-jitsu culture dito sa Pilipinas dahil lahat magkakilala, lahat nagtutulungan. And apparently, I heard na yung national team, they rotate gyms pala dito sa Pilipinas because most gyms are open to the national team and they're receiving coaches from multiple black belts, ganun. It's just a very, very open jiu-jitsu culture. Napakaganda. It's a kind of vision of the kind of one country approach that we need for many of our problems. Yung hindi naglo-close ranks, kundi nagbubukas. So this is what I realized as
Didn't know
I
that. Wow,
uh,
interesting.
gym hopping a little bit in the Philippines. And I thought initially people would look down on gym hopping, di ba? Kasi dapat loyal ka. Pero sa Pilipinas, hindi. Okay lang kahit saan gym ka pumunta, kahit saan ka mag-training. Okay lang. And then of course, yeah, different approaches, pero marami akong natututunan from different coaches sa mga different gyms dito sa Pilipinas. I've really enjoyed my time training here.
So, what is that, like polyamorous string?
Globe
Skating?
trotting, hindi naman poly. Cross-disciplinary, I don't know. Well, the word is really cross-training, di ba? Cross-training.
Um, Maybe we should have a proper different one. Maybe we'll have it with Maggie together. We'll discuss that shortly in logistics. I'm hopefully
Oh,
around.
she's very articulate. No, marami na akong
Oh,
podcast na
brilliant.
rinig
She's
ni
brilliant.
Peggy
Yeah.
Ochoa. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd
Maybe
love to
with
be
you,
her.
kasi I'm totally ignoramus on jiu-jitsu. I don't want to look like a fool. So maybe if you're there, you can guide me in terms of my questions para hindi ako mukhang
Yeah, but
syunga.
you have the mind of a martial artist. You've been doing martial arts much longer than I have. So,
Kasi siya, ang taas ng level niya. At least ikaw, paakyat ka pa lang, so at least you can relate to mortals like me. So maybe let's set up something. But I have to
Oh,
talk to.
yeah, yeah. That would be such an honor for me to talk to Meg
Yes,
Ochoa.
I'll message Meg later on and I'll say, we got two, one undiagnosed, one diagnosed ADHD guys who need more jiu-jitsu train. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, bro, eto. Bago natin pag-usapan si Chizo Scudero, who by the way is the highest in terms of approval and trust rating. So Chizo Scudero is officially the most popular. What
Mm.
is the most popular high level official in the country per the Pulse Asia survey. Of course, ito yung survey agency ng Beshi natin si Dr. Holmes. Um
Hindi
so
yun said ironically, ha? Beshi
No,
talaga.
at aling beshi
Mahal
talaga
talaga
natin
natin si
'yan in a
Ronald
sense
Homestad.
na like I'm not a fan of Google Trends. Beshi natin
Uh,
si I mean it in a No, I had him on my show so people
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um yun ang problema sa parati kong sarcastic ka. People will misunderstand. No, but going back to this, so obviously, inis na inis ako when people say, ano naman, Paul say siya, ganyan, ganyan. No, this is the most legit stuff we got out there along with SWS and what have you. Now, going back to this, bro, so both BBM and Sara have a barely plus 20 net approval rating. That's very, very low. So Sarah's approval is 50, but her disapproval is 28. So that gives you
Mm.
just barely 22 net. BBM not too far away. These are among the lowest numbers we have seen in recent memory. I mean, compared to former presidents Digong and Pinoy,
No,
former
ito.
compared to Binay. So in short, bro, this is it, right? Sarah is really a poor copy of an original poor.
Mm.
Like in a sense that she doesn't have the Teflon effect. No, mukhang talaga her numbers are really hindi naman baksak in a sense that hopeless, but she doesn't really have that kind of super majority that their father had. What is your read of this?
So, mas interesting sa akin na hindi yung fact na mababa sila pareho. Mas may interesting sa akin na mas malaki yung slide ni Sarah kaysa kay BBM. Kasi nung previous survey, bumaba sila pareho, pero mukhang ultimately mas things were looking slightly worse for BBM. Ngayon, pareho silang bumaba pero sobrang laki nung binaba ni Sara. Which just means na ang eroding support is not really BBM, it's Sara Duterte's support. And hindi naman nakakagulat yon because of what's happened since the last survey, particularly yung mga nangyayari sa Quadcom at a little bit yung mga nangyayari na rin sa Senado. And of course, all this discussion, all this general discussion about yung confidential funds. At I think pinakita rin ni Sara kung anong klaseng tao siya based on yung kanyang mga tantrum sa social media. And I think I pointed this out before, Sara Duterte can't get away with yung ganyang klaseng kabastusan because unfortunately, sa ating lipunan, only men can get it's easier for men to get away with that kind of kabastusan. It's harder for women to get away.
Misogyny. You
Meron
see,
talaga meron talaga misogyny. So there's a misogyny element. Pero may isa pang elemento dito. Sa tingin ko, we also said this, yung range ni Sarah is not as wide as yung range ni Digong. Mas maraming pwedeng gawin si Digong. Kaya magpatawa ni Digong,
ganun si
kaya
Digong,
mag-charm,
ganun lang
kaya
siya.
oh, ganyan lang. Kayang manakot, 'di ba? Kayang mautal actually. Si Sarah hindi nauutal in the same way na nauutal si Digong. So yung kanyang weapons ay mas malawak kaysa sa weapons si Digong. Kaya malinaw na nagsaslide si Sarah. But it's interesting, although ang focus ko si Sarah, it's interesting that you also made a comparison to Rodrigo Duterte and Noynoy Aquino relative to Ferdinand Marcos. Um, I don't have access to the surveys. We can look this up. But I'm pretty sure close to yung midpoint ng presidencies nila, Noynoy and Digong were not this low compared
Ano,
to Digong Marcos.
60-70%, bro. So if
Oh,
you look at
malakas
the,
sila.
oh,
So at that time, 'di ba, kailan ba to? Kailan ang midterm ni Digong?
2019.
'Di ba?
2019 and
2019.
2013 ang comparison dapat natin.
2019 and 2013 and also 2030. Yeah. During those times, we were saying na parang, lalo ng panahon ni Duterte, parang ang lakas ng signaling effect ng presidente na nagiging Teflon sa midterm. And we even asked the question, is this going to be a permanent phenomenon? At talaga, ang pagdating ng midterm, malakas yung presidente dahil sobrang lakas ng signaling power ng presidente. And it seems to me na baka hindi ganong kalakas yung signaling power ng presidente dito sa panahon ni BBM. And I'm not entirely sure why. Is it the personality of this president, yung sinasabi natin tahimik, conflict avoidant? Is it the fact na yung nga, naging sinasabi yung analysis mo, nagkainan sila ni Sara Duterte at wala namang ganong klaseng kainan nung panahon
Mutual
ni Noy.
destruction, bro.
Oo.
Yeah, can
Oo.
I build on
So
that? So first,
it could be those two things, pero I'm not a lot of the data is still too new for me. Hindi pa ako sure kung anong take ko dito, but definitely we can say it's very different from the previous two midterms. Meron pa akong isa pa sakali, sorry, one last caveat. Yung isa ko pang pasakali dito is despite the fact na pabagsak ang signaling power ng presidente on the level of popularity and the level of approval, yung kanyang signaling power and yung kanyang control over machines doon sa Senate race ay napakalakas pa rin. So hindi pa rin natitinag yon, di ba? So we're seeing na 8 to 9, maybe even 10 of the senatorial balls who are going to come in based on the current survey ay kaalyado ni Ferdinand Marcos Jr. So the signaling power of the president has weakened, but not enough to change the dynamic of the actual midterm, which maybe is what matters, no, Richard? I don't know. Maybe ultimately, like, they don't care kahit bumaba yung rating, kung mapasok yung mga kandidato nila, that's still power.
thank you, Secretary Ronald Llamas, for that. I told you, bro, you can do this. I know in the academic world, punditry is looked down upon, but it's the first draft of history. So we have
Oo.
to do this just for people to have an idea. And I want to also get your point on this. So her numbers are 10 points down in Luzon, NCR Luzon area. She's down 20 points in Visayas. and 13 points in Mindanao. So she's no longer at 95, 93%. She's only at 80% in Mindanao. But still, her 80% in Mindanao explains why she still has that barely 50%.
Ano na yung total ng Visayas ngayon if you have the data in
Wait,
front of you?
I'll bring it out na. Basta yun ang naalala ko na she was like 20% down sa Visayas. 10 sa atin sa North and then 13% down in Mindanao. I just have to pull out the Pulse Asia survey. So for me, that's quite interesting. So that means that even within the solid South, may slight fracturing na nangyari. And I think some of Duterte's attack on other Mindanao leaders, his presumptuous positioning of himself as a spokesman, as a representative of the entire Mindanao people, I think all of those things may have somehow contributed also to, I mean, 80% for the Duterte in Mindanao is quite low, considering these people always had close to 100%. I'm pulling out the numbers. So ito so Sara is only 34% in NCR. That's very low. This
Hmm.
is a person who enjoys 70, 80, 90%, or at least the dad. She's only 40% in Luzon, 51% in Visayas, 80% in Mindanao. But this is the other interesting thing. Sara is not doing also well among ABC at only 44% because usually they do well among, well, it's really C.
Hmm.
Wala naman yung A and B nasa
Oo,
decimal
kasi
ngayon.
clarify lang natin, hindi usually nasa survey si AB kasi hindi makapasok sa mga exclusive villages yung mga poll worker. Yung mga
Baka sa
survey.
helicopter. Baka na. 1490. Pero she's very high in E, 68%. But my sense is may overlap yung E at Mindanao. Because
I
unfortunately,
see, I see.
do you see what I'm saying?
I
That's
see what you're
that's an
saying.
important observation. People miss that. Actually, poorest of the poor ang E, they're around 15 to 20%, and a lot of them are concentrated in Mindanao. So that may explain why yung that. But probably a secondary explanation, bro, is yung issue ng inflation hurts yung E pinaka apektado yung E, and they cannot blame the vice president. They're probably blaming the president because
Right, right.
BPM is lowest in E. He's only at 35% in E. Again, I think it has a Mindanao factor because he's only 14% in
Yeah.
Mindanao.
35 nga. I'm looking at it nga
Yeah,
now. 35
yeah.
in E, 39 for ABC, and then D siya, pinakamalakas sa D siya, may majority sa
51, yeah. Which is
1.
the
Yeah, yeah.
biggest demographic at around
Oo.
60% of demographic. He's doing decently in NCR at 55. Luzon is 65. So Luzon now is solid north, hindi lang sa amin.
Oo nga,
The
oo nga.
entire
Eh, pero,
Luzon now is solid north.
aminin natin, karga nyo pa rin yan. Karga nyo pa rin yan. Karga pa rin ng
So
mga ibang
walang
barangay.
100% sa amin. Walang yeah. But it's very low in Visayas. But eto na, pwede ka na mag-shine, bro. Senate President Escudero, 60% NCR. Wow. 50.
Malugod kong tinatanggap ang pag-aproba nyo sa aking performance bilang Presidente ng Senado. Maraming salamat po at paglalaban po natin ang karapatan ng mga ipitang boses. Thank you very much.
Favorite ko talaga yung picture niya, naka-goggles siya, tapos inaayos yung eyebrows niya. Long weekend.
Gagals na po to. Gagals na. Kamusta, Heart?
Paano yan, bro? Mas maganda na eyebrows niya sa'yo. Almost as
Uh,
nice as mine. Almost as nice as...
Baka kailangan magpagawa na rin ako.
Ay nako, maraming guys. Uy, ang taas niya ha, 60% NCR, 53% Luzon. Sa Mindanao lang siyang konting medyo may problema, 44%. Pero pare, ang pinakakawawa dito is Mr. 1%, consistently 1% for president in 2028. Um, uh,
House
Ferdinand,
Speaker
Ferdinand,
Ferdinand
Martin
Martin P.
Romales.
Romualdez.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh my
24% lang
God.
NCR, my God.
Pero yung change niya, hindi pa rin kasi, yung change niya, hindi pa rin kasing sama ng change ni Sara Duterte.
Ano ka ba?
Negative
He
7.
cannot go lower than that.
That's true. Pero it's a -7 change for Martin Romualdez. -10 yung kay, malaki talaga yung kay Sara. Malaki talaga yung kay Sara.
20, 13, and 10. Punong double digit yung box up niya. 10 overall.
Oo.
Sorry, 10 overall. Hindi ba naman so? 10 overall. The 20 Visayas, 13 Mindanao. So, it looks like even the solid north of Vismin is no longer as solid for Sara anymore. So, we're seeing vulnerability. But I want to go back again to sinabi mo. Balikan natin ito, no? Again, para sa love na love natin si Ronnie Holmes and Pulse Asia. Again, I'll go back to him. Sana hindi siya magagalit sa akin ni Reyes. But I really went through the both your interview with him back in 2020. Of course, I also interviewed him and had interactions with him. But also, there's this interesting journal article na lumabas last year by Yoko Kasuya and Hirofumi Miwa. The title
Yeah.
is Pretending to Support Duterte's Popularity and Democratic Backslide in the Philippines. It's a very, very comprehensive and systematic one. Obviously, we are social sciences. You can always argue against each other. But let me just tell folks this. Nakalagay dito, at least this is the, ano, no, this is the synthesis. This study suggests that preference falsification could be an alternative explanation for the puzzle of popular incumbents in democratic backsliding, of course, particularly looking at the case of the Philippines. Can you expound on that, bro? Kasi we, both of us separately arrive at that idea of fear factor. Looks like 2020, both of us pala, in your former podcast, walang, yung basagan ng trip, di ba? You also had one on that. So, can you expound what's your take on this? Again, with all due respect, kasi alam ko naman mahirap talaga i-factor in yung fear factor, but at the same time, mahirap talaga i-deny yung fear factor. I mean,
Bro, hindi ko pa nabasa yung full paper ni Yuko. Nakita ko siya mag-present last year sa Stanford. Present niya yung mga initial findings. So, at saka medyo matagal na yun. So, hindi na clear sa akin yung argument niya. But essentially, ang debate dito is yung fear factor for support nga kay Duterte. Alam ko, Pulse Asia was very cognizant of the possibility of fear factor being a thing at that time. So yung ginawa ng Pulse Asia is in fact nagpapadala yan ng mga tao kasama ng mga interviewer sila to check, to monitor kung mukha bang natatakot yung mga interview nila. So, ang nangyayari dyan, may isa mag-interview, tatanong kung ano yung support, tapos may isang independent observer yung pulse siya, titignan mukha bang takot. And ang assessment ni Ronnie is wala silang nakitang takot. And then yung isa pang argument ng Pulse Asia was that in fact, yung one way to gauge fear is rejection rate. Ayaw mong sumagot ng survey kasi natatakot kang sabihin kung ano yung gusto mong sabihin. Mas mataas pa ang rejection rate daw nung panahon ni Noynoy compared dun sa rejection rate nung panahon ni Duterte. So, based on Pulse Asia cannot conclude na fear factor was a factor or that fear was a factor. Right? Of course, just
but
because
you
they
can
can't
also
conclude that
say,
fear was a
mm,
factor doesn't necessarily mean they rule it out. Just they're saying they don't have the data to make that claim, right? They can't back a claim like that. So if you just read Yuko's paper, hindi ko pa nabasa and I'd appreciate actually hindi ko alam na na-publish na. Download ko mga mabasahin ko. Pero
I'll
anong
send ko
sabi
yung
ng
link. Oo.
sabi ng papel na yun?
Oh, at saka I'll send to everyone for everyone to read kasi interesting yung ano nila breakdown nila ng environment of survey. I mean, because you could also say in an environment of fear, rejecting participation in the survey could also be read in a wrong way, right?
Mm.
You,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? So, parang, di, fill up na natin, baka, ganun. Anyway, I'm not saying na hindi popular si Digong. Obviously, siya yung, he's the art of budol. Di ba? Kung art of the deal kay Trump, art of budol talaga kay Digong. Hindi ko talaga
Mm.
ma-deny yan. He's really charismatic, nakakatuwa siya every day. I give it to him. But I think to really deny the fear factor, I'm really not convinced. But what I can agree with Ronnie Holmes is that but how can you quantify that? Yun yung mahirap. Talagang debatable talaga yan. Sobrang debatable yan. Pero preference falsification is I think a thesis that we have to work on. Um because you can look at other countries like Russia, right? When Putin suddenly has super high approval ratings and all, they're like someone calls you or someone goes to you and like, what is your incentive to say I don't like Putin or like, you know what I'm saying? Like the incentive is really leaning towards falsification rather than other ways. That's in Russia. So the
Mm.
argument, the other evidence you can, or at least proxy evidence, brother, here is 8 out of 10 Filipinos in SWS surveys consistently said takot sila na maging biktima ng EJK. So,
Malinaw yun. Malinaw yun.
isn't that a complete reflection of a climate of fear? I don't know what else are you gonna look. When 8
Mali-
out of 10 Filipinos by 2018 and 19 are still saying takot sila mabiktima ng EJK. And then right and left, nakita mo yung mga politiko na sa sniper, na narco list.
Okay.
It's just so hard not to look at
Okay.
this as climate of fear. Eh.
I see. And then, bro, I guess that allows us then to read this new survey in that light a little bit, di ba? Bakit mabilis bumagsak si Sarah? Hindi natakot yung
Kasi
mga tao
walang
eh.
fear factor. Exact.
Wala silang kapangyarihan eh, di ba? Hindi ka na pwedeng itodas ng mga pulis nila. Yeah, You know,
I mean, it connects eh.
I can't rule it out. It does connect. But also, 'di ba, part of what we do is we want to encourage people to think about the methods of the social sciences, 'di ba? Just because we say na factor to doesn't mean nawawala yung ibang factor. Um, Hindi ito single factor kung bakit nag-decline si Sarah.
Multivariant naman tayo eh.
Multivariant talaga ito. So, just because in-entertain namin to possibility na to doesn't mean we're no longer entertaining the possibility na gumana yung Quadcom, that there was a lot of sexism, na nabastusan yung mga tao kay Sarah. It's part and parcel of a very large picture that determine these surveys. Kaya nga interesting to talk about surveys kasi sa harap numero lang yan eh, 'di ba? Pero once you start digging into the surveys, dito na yung magic of dito na talaga yung magic ng social sciences. And this is what I think differentiates a good social scientist from a great social scientist, the capacity to talk about what's happening behind the numbers.
Absolutely. And I think the debate really is the mix, no? Which one has a bigger contribution? Is it the budul? Is it the popularity? Is it the ayuda? Ganon. So, don't pwede tayo magkaroon ng healthy debate, di ba? But I want to ask you this, bro. The other side of the equation is still Marcus Jr. As an iconoclast, you always once in a while come up with interesting stuff to say, right? Like, one of the things I love about you saying a few years ago is that Philippine studies became Duterte studies, right? Like, that's good. That's a good way of putting it. Another one, although I'm not sure anymore.
Galing ate kay paring Mark Thompson yun eh. Or
Ay,
partly galing
yeah,
kay
yeah.
paring Mark Thompson.
Basta may panel kayo nun, di ba?
Oo.
Um, and then the other thing you said that really caught my attention because I think this goes back to yung book mo Taming, di ba? About the EDSA revolution. Um, you are saying that BBM is essentially an EDSA president, right?
Mm-mm.
Can you expound on that? To what degree him being an EDSA president also explains his conflict avoidance? Kasi ang basa ko dito is, yes, and here I want to be fair kasi nasa solid north ako. Yes, may
Nasa Baguio ka ba ngayon, bro?
oh, may
Okay, okay.
undisclosed
The
location,
heartland.
undisclosed location.
Oh, the
Um,
heartland.
uh, so more like Highland than Heartland. Kasi
Oh, yeah.
distance, LT distance, medyo Heartland, lawag na ngayon eh, Batak. But going back to this bro, kasi wala, nakalimutan ko ano sasabihin ko. No, 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 going back, no, one
Yung
is
EDSA
temperament.
president,
One
EDSA
is his
president. Yeah.
temperament, right? One is his temperament. Conflict avoidance siya. It's a long story why it is a circuitous journey, right? Like he went from camouflage, last hawk as our good friend, what's his name? Yung Inquirer, si Manolo, right? Manolo called him the last hawk, right? Um, and then he went through the journey, conflict. But the other one, bro, is precisely because his name is Ferdinand Marcos Jr. He always has essentially, like this pressure on him not to look authoritarian, and I think that explains why he is extra cautious more than he
Mm,
should be, right? Not to mention, and the third factor, I think binasa niya ito, bro, no? Mutual destruction. He's seeing it. His numbers in Mindanao are pathetic
mm,
because there is a backlash against him. And then obviously, probably even has a legit fear of destabilization because as we talk, nagka-announcement ang isang major religious group that they'll have a major rally
mm.
against injustice in mid-January. So I mean, maybe we can ask Trillanes again kung may coup plot. I mean, Trillanes has a postdoctoral in coup plot studies.
Plate. Oh my God.
I mean, I love the guy, but like, let's be honest. Like, I don't have many guests na regular na three times coup plotter. Like, I'm just saying. Ronald, maybe one na hindi ko alam, pero ito tatlo eh. So, going back to this, brother, what is your take on that? How does the ETSA constitutional order structure and explain BBM's overly conflict avoidant approach?
Ako unang-una, ang favorite comparison ko kasi Noynoy and BBM. Napaka-similar, di ba? Si Noynoy gustong ipagpatuloy yung magandang pangalan ng kanyang mga magulang, yung sinasabi niya. Si BBM gusto niyang linisin ang magandang pangalan ng mga kanyang mga magulang. And I think if we think about it from that perspective, that what was the point and what is the ongoing point of the Marcos restoration? It's actually to rewrite history. It's actually for people to forget about the excesses of their family so that they can quote-unquote move on. Yun yung term, di ba? Yun yung favorite term nila, move on. And what better way to do that than to disentangle the Marcos name from authoritarianism. And what is the opposite of authoritarianism in the Philippines? It's the EDSA Republic. It's the rebuilding of a democracy after the fall of the dictatorship, which includes, of course, regular elections, and which, of course, includes the dirty process of dealing with a variegated Philippine oligarchy. Kasi nung panahon ng tatay ni Bongbong Marcos, isang oligarch, hawak niya lahat. Isang kasike, tawag nga ni Ben Anderson, tsaka niya supreme
The
kasike.
Supreme
In,
Court.
in the EDSA democracy, it's a rotating chair. It's rotating chairs of multiple kasikes na kailangan pakainin lahat ng presidente. And that's how you play the EDSA game. And of course, because all of these factions within the oligarchy, within the powerful Philippine political structure, lahat sila may mga pangil. Kung ayaw mo sumabit, kailangan more or less kaya mong aregluhin yung mga problema with various parts of this oligarchy, and Bongbong is playing that game. In many ways, I guess he is constitutionally well prepared for this game or suitable for this game kasi mabait siya na tao at maayos siyang kausap from what I hear.
Uy, Lele, baka next thing I know, meron kayong Malacanang picture like Kiko Pangilinan, na? Oh my God. Wait, bago
Sinabi
tayo
natin
pumunta doon.
Pag sinabi nating mabait na tao, I'm not making so let me clarify that. I'm not saying na parang ano, maybe I should rephrase it. Hindi mabait, amiable.
And amiability.
Amiable,
Yeah,
amiable, amiable, amiable.
that's a very good. Okay, yeah, we have to be
Amiable.
careful with
Very amiable.
synonyms. Alam mo, bro,
Uh,
sino magaling sa synonyms? Si Lacson.
bakit, bakit?
Napansin mo, puro thesaurus yung pag nagpo-post siya, parang 10 synonyms ang ginamit niya sa isang tweet. But anyway, mamaya na tayo mag Mr. GMRC. Mahal na natin yan.
Pero bro, so balik tayo dun sa survey, di ba? Sa tingin mo ba finally gumagana na yung strategy? Kasi kinain na ni Marcos yung kanyang yung kanyang hit in popularity nung tinira niya yung mga Duterte, sila ni Martin Romualdez, ayun na, bumaba na sa Mindanao. So, kinain na yon. Ngayon, dito sa survey nito, dalawa na lang yung binagsak niya eh. So, is it possible that this guy has hit his floor already and that he can
Yeah.
cruise from this point onwards? Do you see that as a possibility? Or is it possible that bababa pa siya lalo? Or is this the floor for Bongbong Marcos?
I think you're raising a very good point, yung elasticity of support, no? So I think in terms of elasticity, in terms of downward elasticity, you could argue maybe Sarah has still room for decline, no?
Mas
Um,
malaki. Mas malaki.
Mas
Oo.
malaki. And the point is, she's not the president. The president controls all the levers of power.
Mm.
So in a situation whereby both of them are at below majority support, which is very low for Filipino presidents at this stage in their
Oo.
office, still it's an asymmetrical equivalence in the sense that still Marcos has all of the levers of power, and you, as you were mentioning a while ago, his team is looking strong for next year's elections. As you said, di ba usually kasi parang 6 to 9, parang 2013, di ba? 6 to 9 out of 12 ay pro-admin ang nananalo, di ba?
Mhm.
Um, Eto, baka posible pa nga 8 to 10 out of 12
Mhm.
ay admin leaning, right? Or at
Mhm.
least not Duterte leaning. I mean, the
Mhm.
only Duterte candidate that is doing well so far is Bongo, right?
Oo, na tumaas pa.
Na
Tumaas
tumaas
pa.
pa.
And I actually want to talk about that because it's very, for me, I always thought that Bongo and Bato sank or swam together. Pero mukhang hindi. Mukhang hindi. Mukhang ibang-iba ang fates ng dalawa.
No, because Bongo has really been very adept at building his own brand, yung Malasakit project niya.
Ah,
If you follow
ah.
his Facebook, I check his Facebook, meron pa siya yung mga K-pop, mga He's a very adept politician. Essentially, he has built his own brand. Nag
Yeah, yeah.
Nag-post Duterteismo na siya. Well,
Meron siyang brand
yeah.
of malasakit machine politics na wala si Bato, na ano lang, ang style lang ni Bato is he will latch on to Duterte. Although I thought na parang among the pro-DDS candidates, si Bato lang yung merong Duterte humor. Again, you may not like the humor, but he's the only one who has that register.
Actually, bro, I have to give credit to Bato. I always thought Bato was like a contrived authenticity, meaning na ganyan lang siya kasi bata siya ni Digong. Now, the other day, meron kaming show sa One News TV5, yung parang safe house, puro mga host
Mm,
magkasama. Kasama ko
mm,
si Ronald at si Ed Lingao. Si Ed Lingao
mm.
showed us a documentary from 20 years ago or so nung Special Forces si Bato. Bro, essentially, Bato, as you see, same body, same everything, may buhok pa ng konti, talks exactly the same. As in, batong bato. And then, nasa gitna sila ng giyera sa Mindanao. He's still talking like a bato, yung nagpapatawa, very self-confident. So, I understand while gustong-gusto. So, in a way, Bato is a mini-me of Duterte. While
Oo.
interestingly, Bongo, he's the consigliere who rebranded himself and building his own, essentially, political momentum right now.
Oo.
Ang galing ni,
I,
Bongo is
I
very
think,
hardworking and very, very
yeah,
inspiring.
yeah. So parang yung Duterte talaga, yung Duterte forces, yung DDS talaga is really digong. A lot of people have elements of digong, but because they don't have the full package, hindi nila magawang maging digong. So let's say si Bato, for example, has Duterte's humor, has Duterte's self-deprecation, pero kulang siya dun sa iba. Si Bato, he has the capacity to signal malasakit the way Duterte did. Si
Bongo,
Sara
Bongo, Bongo.
Si Bongo, sorry, si Bongo has the capacity to signal malasakit. Si Sarah has the brashness, 'di ba? Pero wala ng humor, 'di ba? So, parang lahat sila may elemento ni Digong pero walang complete package. Kaya mahina yung coalition. But yeah, interesting yung kay Bato, yung kay Bongo kasi si Bongo tumaas pa. The expectation was bababa si Bongo, 'di ba? Kasi sa last survey, mababa na sila
Sa
mababa si
SWS yun, ha?
tanggal si
That was
Bato,
SWS. That was
tanggal si
SWS.
Bato, tsaka si Bongo medyo alanganin na pero nasa Magic 12 pa. Pero ngayon mukhang tumataas ang trajectory ni Bongo pataas. So,
And
I
one
don't
more
know.
person, Willie Revillame. Because if
Willie
you look at
Revillame.
Willie
Pero Willie
Revillame,
Revillame is his own man.
his own man, but he leans more friendly to the Dutertes than should be otherwise. Do you get what I'm saying? Among the
Kaya,
independents. Kasi, you could think of other independents out there na hindi ganun ka-DDS, di ba? Eto si Willie has a very friendly relationship. So what I find very interesting in the latest surveys is both Willie Revillame and Bongo are doing very well, which talks about yung kanilang structural strengths. Willie, we
mhm.
know, is the showbiz factor. But kay Bongo, bro, is also organizational. Again, if I
Mhm.
were to use sorry for
Parang Binay ba? Parang Binay level organizational
medyo
structure.
or even better.
Diba?
I mean, he's essentially I don't mean it in a parang kumbaga parang if I wanted to use the Trotsky Lenin thing baka papatay na
Sige
ako.
lang, sige lang.
But you can also like, what made Stalin win that mini civil war within the Politburo, di ba? During as Lenin entered his deathbed, was his organizational power, right?
Mm.
Hindi siya ganun
Mm.
ka-charismatic, hindi siya magaling magsalita, hindi siya eloquent like Trotsky and all of that. Pero operator siya. Behind the scenes, he's putting things together and all. And eventually, that's
Yan
why
si
he won.
Bongo.
I
Yan
think
si
Bongo
Bongo.
has that power, and in the end, you cannot deny the influence of that. He's so good in organization. Kasi business ang background niya eh. Lasal, ano yan eh, commerce yan eh. So he's really a businessman when he thinks. He's really organized. He puts everything together. And unlike Bato, if you notice, there are times Bongo a little bit, medyo gumagano ng konti, di ba? Like on China, bigla matapang na siya. Well, Bato talagang stick to Digong's line. Parang by hook or by crook. So, feeling ko,
Tsaka isa malaking
dexterity.
diferensya. Isa malaking diferensya. War on drugs. Si Bato talaga is always going to be associated with the war on drugs. Si Bongo, kaya pa niya magugas kamay ng konti, pero mahirap kung ikaw yung PNP chief eh. Kung mahirap kung ikaw yung main administrator. So I think that's a good sign actually. I mean, aminin ko, ayoko si Bato, ayoko kay Bongo. Pero kung pipili ako, if one of the henchmen had to get in, mas okay na siguro si Bongo. So I see the kind of wisdom of the Filipino public here na kung if we have to accept one DDS, sige siya na. Having said that, bro, what do you think of the rest of the PDP Laban DDS slate? Talagang parang mukhang pulpul. Including someone who is like, I love this one hit, but he's a one-hit wonder, man. You know who I'm talking about?
Wait, sino?
Somebody told me you were leaving. You
Sasabihin ko
know,
si attorney.
somebody told me you're unhappy. Sorry.
Alala mo bro, yung
I love
fact
that
check,
song.
fact check sila sa Facebook, sabi nila lipat daw sila dun sa Russian version ng Facebook. Remember, di ba
Oh.
Russia has its own version of Facebook? Sabi ko, this guy had lost it. Sabi niya, lipat tayo, sinesensor tayo ng Facebook, doon na
Oh.
tayo sa ano yung Facebook ng Russia. Like,
Ito rin siya. Tara,
Sabi ko, ang mga kalaban mo lang dyan si Ronald Llamas pag Russian Facebook. Siya lang
pero
may account dun.
it's so telling, 'di ba? Na parang yung PDP laban, walang makuha na mainstream powerful
Scraping. Scraping.
politiko na may pangalan, 'di ba? That in itself is telling. Na feel ng
Encouraging,
mga
I would
tao.
say. Encouraging,
Oh,
I would say.
encouraging, encouraging. And then dun sa mga yung manok lang nila na ilulusot is somebody who, as you say, has his own political machine, which means the PDP machine cannot build anyone up at this point. And nobody wants to be built up by the PDP machine.
Just to be clear, yung friend natin si Mark Gamboa ranks higher than Vic Rodriguez. Tapos, ayun
Talaga yan.
naman.
Sige, brother, nagaling ng Malacanang yan, ha? Hindi sa minamalit ko si Mark Gamboa, pero si
No,
Mark
no,
Gamboa,
look.
never galing ng Malacanang yan.
Hindi ko
Matalino,
minamalit si Mark,
sheer,
ah.
sheer talino
Hindi ko
lang
rin
na yan.
minamalit si Mark. Ang sinasabi ko lang, wait, let me finish. May billboard na kasi si Vic Rodriguez. Tapos
Yeah.
nakita
May
billboard,
libro pa, bro.
ha?
May libro pa.
Hindi, yung libro niya walang
Papakot na ako
nagbasa.
ng libro.
Pero sabi nga ni Ronald, ano na eh, ginamit na pang ano sa, sa, baka may sasabihin ako makancel. No, no, no.
Pinakilo niya. Pinakilo. Hindi pa naman nata pinapakilo yung
Pinalinis ng
libro, bro.
Windows sa SM. No,
Ah,
but bro, no, no, no. He has a billboard, malaking billboard, malapit sa Rockwell. Tapos parang inaakyat siya, kamay niya, parang si Digong nag-akyat ng kamay niya. Pero sa totoo lang, siya yung nag-akyat ng kamay ni Digong. Because Digong looks so enervated and old and frail. So actually, if you look at the picture, bro, dun sa ano, parang tingnan mo, bro, pag mahanap mo yun, parang si Digong pa yung pinilit ni Vic Rodriguez na akyat ng kamay.
oh my God.
Actually, Digong looks old, no? He doesn't look well.
He looks very old. He
Very,
looks,
he's not, he
oh,
doesn't look well, no? So, maybe that also explains why. Siguro if Digong were a bit more
more
energetic and,
spry, more
yun nga eh.
spry. Alam mo, come to think about it, 'di ba? Ang strongman tinatamaan talaga yan pag namumukhang mahina, 'di ba? Kasi literally yung credibility mo nanggagaling sa lakas mo sa pagkamacho mo. That's why nga si Apo, si Ferdinand Marcos Sr., nung nagkalupos na yan, itinatago yan, 'di ba? Because they didn't want people seeing the strongman weak. And I think that's may ganyan konting dynamic din dito kay Digong.
Absolutely. And kaya nga, actually, swerte tayo na Digong ran for presidency in his 70s. Had we got the Digong in his 60s, oh, forget
Oo
about
nga.
50s, he would have been, wala na, forever president na yan. He would have been
Ah,
so adept and, I
ano.
mean, di ba, we escaped by the skin of our teeth, let's be honest. If not for AFP, and if not for Digong being a bit sabog, tapos ng laban, bro. At kung
Mm.
nakinig si Digong dun sa advice ng dating campaign manager niya, naggagawa sila ng sarili nilang Chavismo movement, 'di ba? Yung kilusan.
Yes.
Tapos ng
Yes,
laban,
yes,
bro. Tapos ng
yes,
laban.
yes.
So
Yes.
actually, we had many near calls. I mean, that's why I'm saying, people, for everything you say against BBM, and we have to criticize BBM of that. We really were close to essentially a kind of a Putin Erdogan system not long ago,
Mm.
except even more
Oo.
than Putin and Erdogan, I would say.
Tsaka si Duterte, yun naman talaga yung gusto niya Kasi nung kampanya pa lang, he was already telling the Inquirer, yung forum ng Inquirer, na nagpakita siya dun sa Lasal, he wanted to dismantle Philippine democracy. He said it. He wanted to dismantle Philippine constitutional democracy. There was an article by John Nery that said that this guy has already telegraphed to us what he wants to do. And he looked like he wanted to do it, di ba? I'm about to read itong bagong I just got my hands on Marites Vitog's na not so new book anymore, yung Unrequited Love about Duterte in China. And ano lahat ng mga kwento. A lot of those stories nabanggit na ni I think many of the stories there, although I'm sure there are others, nabanggit na ni Chief former Justice Carpio sa podcast, kagaya for example yung Chinese surveillance equipment sa military natin. I mean, my God, naghihingalo talaga ang Pilipinas ng panahon na yon. Actually, bro, this year, ang mga pinaka nakakatakot mo na podcast, just looking back, ay yung mga podcast where you were talking to Justice Carpio. Because Justice Carpio has a way of telling the story in a way na it makes you realize nga how close we were to a collapse of our constitutional democracy. the stakes become so clear pag siya nagkukwento. I don't know what it is about Justice Carpio, but he's so his stories are scary. His stories are, if I may, effing scary.
Yeah, I feel offended for Trillanes because I think Senator Trillanes
Ah,
said
oh,
also
he's scary too. Oh, he's scary too.
scary
Oh,
thing. Pero you're right, kasi the thing kay Trillanes is it sounds so fantastical. Although
mm.
unfortunately it's true, right? Yung mga all
Oh,
like, pero kay Justice Carpio kasi he says it in a very magisterial Supreme Court way.
mm.
So clinical. So it's so scary. It's like, so ito,
Kikilabutan ka
ganito
na lang bigla.
nangyari. Oh, muntik namin pinutol yung ano ng puso mo. Actually, patay ka ng 10 seconds, pero binuhay ka na. Like, he
Oh,
explains it
oh,
like a doctor na you're almost dead. Pero,
oh,
like, but yeah, I think you'll be okay. But, like, ganon.
oh,
Kaya scary siya eh. Kaya scary.
oh. So yeah, we don't appreciate how close we got there. And I don't know, are you feeling so, end of the year, are you feeling more optimistic start of the year than you were end of the year than you were at the beginning of the year?
So here is where I want you to take over, brother. So, what we have been discussing for the past 2, 3, 4 years and so is really crystallizing right now, which is the loss of the Dutertes is not necessarily the gain of the Marcoses in a sense that
Mm.
hindi tumataas ang number ni BBM and more important, hindi tumataas yung number ng supposed anointed successor niya na consistently 1%, right? But the Tulfos are really juicing it. So the loss of Dutertes and the mutual destruction between the Marcoses and Dutertes is really benefiting the Tulfos big time. The two brothers, Ben and Erwin, for number one. This is still consistent. We're seeing that. Tumas pa si Erwin. He was down to 57, 54%. Even now, he's at 65, 66%. To think na he's attached pa sa admin, and yet he still, maintains that. And then Rafi Tulfo is consistent in number one. It's just a question of margins. I think his margins will keep on increasing over. Now, we will obviously go to the genuine opposition soon, but my sense is it's also very possible that the Tulfos will just pick things up and take it from there next year
Mm.
after making a and then they will define the conversation from 2025 onwards. Especially if they do very well in the Senate race and Rafi Tulfo maintains his kind of momentum. So, baka yung moment of truth na hinintay natin, di ba, na mag-showdown yung Duterte and Marcos and they'll be like, baka it will just, poof, it will just go away and then conversation moves to the Tulfos and someone else, right? So I see very much that possibility because kasi nagpaparamdaman lahat eh. Yung
Mm.
isang kampo, yung religious group nila, lalabas ng ganito, but I don't think it will be so big. Yung kabila naman, like everyone is like, hapyaw lahat eh. No one has a
That's
decisive,
interesting.
there's no decisiveness on any side. No decisiveness
So,
in terms of number of people on the ground. No decisiveness in terms of actual decision making. No decisive, like for instance, even Sarah immediately said, "Oh, hindi ko naman sinabi na papatayin kita. Yun lang, conditional, ganun." So, everyone
totoo
is
naman yun. Actually, to be fair to Sarah, totoo naman yun. The way she phrased it was, sabihin mo na kung pinapatay ako ni BBM, meron akong assassin na gaganti. So, in other words, sinasabi niya, kung patayin niyo ako, papatayin kayo ng assassin ko. So, totoo naman yun, to be fair.
ano ka ba, bro? It's like the mafia guys saying, hindi ko sinasabi na papatayin ka, pero kung hindi ka nagbayad, baka may mangyari.
Ah, pwede,
I
okay,
heard you
okay.
have a great community down there. I don't want anything to happen to them. Yung parang ganun.
Sige,
Like,
sige, sige, sige. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
actually, it's
Pero
legal.
hindi, the more generous reading of that is she's saying like, she's not threatening them. She's saying there's a credible threat on my life.
Yeah, so it's her way of like, like, so in short, no one is going all the way. Eh. Both
That's true.
sides are scary families, but actually no one is going all the way. They're all pulling
Hindi,
back.
takot din sila sa isa't isa.
Maybe they
Tingko.
have compromise on each other, right? That's
Oh,
the
baka nga.
story. That each of them have so much dirt on each other that yung nakikita natin mutual destruction will be mutually assured total destruction.
Total
If the,
destruction. Pero actually, if you listen to the Quadcom is really going for it, di ba? The Quadcom is essentially almost towing the Trillanes line already. Di ba? Headline ng Inquirer, when was this, last week ba, was essentially a headline that it could have come out of the name of the mouth of Sunny Trillanes. The headline went something like this. I don't have the exact headline. Quadcom tags Duterte as a leader of a major drug operation, di ba? If the Quadcom is going that direction, if that is a sign of where the Quadcom is going to go, kung nasa Trillanes line na sila, that's the jugular, isn't it?
except there's one more possibility, bro. They'll be left they will be left in the air. What
Si
if B
Quad, abandonahin ni BBM.
actually it's quite probable that at some point Trillanes and the Quadcom and everyone going after Duterte will just be left to dry in the on their own. So actually very risky yung ginagawa nila kasi they're thinking BBM will be with them through and through. But what if BBM at the last moment pulls the plug and then they're left, essentially, they'll have the short end of the stick. So very risky itong ginagawa nila, both mga
It
Quad.
is risky, but on the other hand, who do congressmen listen to? Ultimately they respond to the Speaker of the House. So kung ganun ang
Speaking of whom, speaking of
ang
whom,
calculus sila Speaker of the House na napakalakas. So I think madaling pagtawanan si Martin Romualdez as a kind of popular vote character. He's not going to get the popular vote. Pero within the hallways of power, he has the votes. Right? That's why kung magkaroon ka ng parliamentary system, oh, you better bet on Martin Romualdez as a possible prime minister. Kasi pag politiko na kausap, kuha ni Martin Romualdez yung boto. Pag tao yung kausap, baka hindi. Pag politiko, oo. So you can't underestimate yung power ni speaker. And I'm sure you've heard this from multiple sources. This is the most powerful speaker in recent memory. Diba?
very systematic, except bro, I I I I I think you didn't see that podcast I did the other day. Um, so one discussion right now is Sarah and BBM daw are looking at a ceasefire, and the price of ceasefire is Martin Romualdez.
Ooh, wow.
Uh,
Lagyan na ilaglag si Martin.
I'm not saying it's gonna
Wow.
happen, but
Wow.
some are saying that Sarah reached out and said, pagpalitan mo si Martin, kahit sino, it doesn't have to be, obviously GMA is positioning herself again, as always, si Tita Arroyo. But apparently, the Duterte camp is saying, as long as you just change si Martin, we're willing to roll back. At etong mga rallies na gagawin sa January and all is to put pressure on BBM to drop his cousin, essentially, for speaking out.
Wow.
If not this Congress, then next Congress. So that's my thing. I absolutely agree with him. Martin is a very smart guy. He's really good in leveraging yung kanyang position within, corralling, all of that. But at the end of the day, what if kaya di ba yun yung sinasabi ni Machiavelli, di ba? The biggest trouble for small city states is, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Wow.
so, and if his popularity is so low, right? You know what I'm saying? So he's even more at the mercy of the president. So, again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but watch very carefully the fate of Martin Romualdez. Because if Martin Romualdez steps down for whatever reason, my immediate suspicion is a deal was cut.
Ilaglag ng Malacanang.
And tapos na yung
Wow.
civil war. It's a ceasefire situation, right?
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying, bro. Ang dami
Delikado, I
kong
mean,
hearsay.
delikado yun for Bongbong though.
Delikado din yan kay
Delikado
lalo
yun for
kay
Bongbong kasi ultimately, balik tayo dun sa original na rationale, bakit ka maglalagay ng pinsang buo mo as Speaker of the House? Kasi ang impeachment complaints nanggagaling sa House. So ultimately, yan ang kailangan mong protector from any impeachment complaint. At yung trauma nito ay nanggaling doon sa panahon ni Estrada that you had a Speaker of the House who was powerful in his own right. Remember, Manny Villar was rich in his
right?
own right. He did not need the president. He could, as Speaker of the House, transmit an impeachment complaint. In fact, railroad impeachment complaint against a sitting president, which is very rare because, of course, speakers of the House in the Philippines are practically, in the words of former Senator Sergio Osmeña, appointed by the president.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. Now, that raises another scenario, right? That BBM cuts a deal with Tulfo and supports Rafi Tulfo as the
Mm.
next president to protect him. And
That's
then
safer. That's
maybe
safer.
Martin will be the vice president na lang. Now, obviously, the preference is Martin runs as president, Rafi is the vice president. But as things stand, it looks like the option B, if the impeachment doesn't work, is you support Rafi and then VP na lang niya si Martin.
Mm.
So it will be Machine versus plus the Tulfo brand, and that will be their way to beat Sara Duterte. And then maybe on the sides, there's still the court cases against Sara, and maybe they can get to disqualify her. But mukhang yun yung another option. Kasi if you're gonna bet on BBM being diffident at the end of the day, that looks like the most likely scenario. that
Mm.
hindi magkakaroon ng culmination, right? Even on the ICC, that in theory it could be the Deus Ex Machina. I confirmed when I was in Hague in September na there's already communications going on with the Philippine government and they're asking, but mukhang ano pa rin eh, mukhang, the hammer is still not coming down. So that's one scenario I'm looking at. Obviously, for me, one a snowball effect would have been the, what I'm saying, like magkukumpol-kumpol lahat. That could have been the game over for Duterte's. But that presupposes Marcos being decisive enough to see this snowball effect through. But then again, I cannot really vouch for BBM on that level, to be honest, bro.
Mm.
I
Mm.
cannot vouch for
That,
him. So,
pero that would be the safest move, no, bro? What do you think?
yeah, it's the path of least resistance, right?
Path
Like,
of least resistance.
eventually just cut the deal with Tulfo and Martin and work something out. Ganon.
Mm.
Because,
Tsaka si
yeah,
Tulfo hindi si Idol Rafi hindi gumuguhit, 'di ba? Hindi siya gumuguhit dito sa mga major issues na to. And what is that signaling?
very strategic.
I think that's signaling two things. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mataas ako sa survey, bakit ko kailangan gumuhit? I'm going to alienate another as a constituency. I'll just ride this wave of popularity straight to the presidency and not fight with these people. Let them kill each other, self-destruct, as you say. The second thing I think is telegraphing there is I'm open for business from both sides. Diba? Hindi pa ako gumuguhit, so pwede nyo pa akong kausapin. Not business necessarily na corrupt way, ah. Business in the sense na pwede ako makipag-alyado sa inyo. Di ba?
Hedging.
So,
He's hedging. He's hedging
ikaw,
his
oh,
bets.
hedging, hindi pa, wala akong binanatan dito, wala akong binanatan doon. Pwede nyo pa akong kausapin pareho. Which puts him in a really,
Sweet
really good
spot.
mood. Oh.
Rafi Tulfo is in a sweet spot. Absolutely, he's in a sweet spot, and I think he's doing it very smart. I think he's playing card very smart. And when we say both sides, it's not actually the Duterte side because the other side that could also court Rafi is the genuine opposition, which I want to talk about as the last part of our conversation for today, bro. What is your read about the genuine opposition aside from my lovely picture with the three greatest women leaders the other week na ang dami
So,
nag-react
so
doon.
doon sa simula tayo sa Senado, doon sa taas, 'di ba? Tumataas yung dalawa, si Bam Aquino at saka si Kiko Pangilinan. Mas mataas si Kiko, and I think that's partly because hindi pa rin completely na-rehabilitate yung pangalan na Aquino. What used to be a major asset is still a disadvantage. And that's still parang one of the long-term effects of the Duterte regime. I think gumagana rin yung fact na napaka-issue based nung kampanya nung dalawa. In a way, yung campaigns are patterned after yung campaign ni Risa Ontiveros. Yung campaign ni Risa Ontiveros followed a very simple script. Look for a social service na kailangan ng mga tao and hammer that social service. Yung kay Risa was health, and she hammered it and she hammered it. Using that same formula, which I agree with, right? Pumili ka ng social service na i-hammer mo and then run on that. Si Kiko, agriculture, di ba? Presyo ng pagkain. Si Bam, edukasyon. Pwede mo sabihing single issue, pero I think Risa proved na yung kind of maniacal focus on a service is actually what's going to help you get a Senate seat. Especially since marami namang failure si Risa, di ba? And when she had that disciplined messaging, tsaka pumasok yon. Risa is not the campaign manager of these two people, but I think she calls herself the number one fan or the number one supporter of these two people. Kaya nakikita mo yung Risa strategy, kahit paano pumapasok yun dun kay Bam at
Oh,
saka
eh.
kay...
And Bam is wearing pink na. I mean, I'm not saying he listened to me, but that was my suggestion all the
Mm-mm.
time.
Mm-mm.
Continue that pink movement because you were campaign manager of Lenny when the
Oo, oo.
But the
Ano,
Kiko thing is interesting kasi bro, sa pagkaalam ko, di ba remember there was always one slot available in admin for a grand coalition, I called it. Kiko was under consideration to be part of that Team Philippines grand coalition with admin. And eventually it
mm,
just didn't work kasi nga, obviously. I mean, it's like,
oo.
but I think Kiko and Sharon Conetas, especially Sharon Conetas' caption, love, 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 with the First
Oo.
Lady and all, kind of tells you that there's also this parallel
May
uh,
openness. Tsaka alam mo
coalition
sila,
building.
alam mong alam mong the Guns of Malacanang are definitely not going to be trained on Kiko Pangilinan. Parang pababayaan yan, di ba? Ang concern talaga, siguro ang magiging concern talaga ng Malacanang ngayon, si Bato. Make sure na hindi umakyat ulit. I don't know kung isusuko na nila si Bongo or kung, if they feel like they still have time para durugin si Bongo. Hindi ko alam kung ano magiging laro nila doon. But I'm sure at this point, Kiko is the least of their concerns. And let's not forget, if you're Malacanang, Kiko, Bam, fine, they're not, hindi natin kaalyado, but those are two more votes in a Sara Duterte impeachment trial, which is cool for Malacanang, I think. And
Actually,
so,
I'll tell you what, brother. I think Kiko and Kiko, Riza and Bam are more useful to BBM in a sense of holding the Dutertes accountable than many
mm,
people in this so-called admin slate. Because let's
uh,
be honest, I mean, Tolentino,
uh,
Duterte's Ronald Llamas, political secretary, right?
uh,
Is running under admin. And then, medyo may ano siya, di ba? Parang Congressman Abante. Medyo Abante tapos umatras. Nag-umabante atras siya eh. Like, there are many issues. Biglang nagpapabait na siya. So, actually, maraming unreliable dun sa admin slate. Not to mention,
mm,
hindi ko rin alam kung mananalo silang lahat. But if you have a Bam and Kiko and all, these people
mas
understand.
reliable pa yun mag-convict.
Yeah,
You're
hindi sila
saying.
Marcos fans, but they know that Dutertes are the number one
Right,
constitutional
right.
threat.
Right, actually, if you think about it, so kunwari, Marcos Slate, sino makakapasok, si Tito Sen, I actually think na mas likely mag-convict si Kiko at saka kay Bam kaysa kay Tito Sen. Although siguro, magko-convict si Tito Sen kung siyang Senate
Oh,
President
player
of
din
their
yan.
Marcos
He will
Slate.
he'll
Yeah,
look at
oo.
the,
Pero,
like,
pero odds, dito na ako sa mga pinklawan, di ba? Kung if my focus is just getting rid of Sara, dito, asa na ako sa pinklawan?
courage. Look at Risa. Risa has essentially heavy lifted the entire Senate. This is
Mm.
the worst Senate ever in the Philippine history. You tell me if I'm wrong. At the same time, Risa is like one of the best ever senators ever in Philippine
Bakit,
history. It's one of
Bakit,
the most amazing coincidence we have that. So if you're
uh,
PM, oh my God, one genuine opposition heavy lifted an entire institution. If I have three
mm,
of them, imagine what they can pull off, right? So that's my
mm.
point, bro. Eh. Actually, mas useful for BBM to have those genuine opposition people in who are actually ready to take on the Dutertes, on the Pogos, on China, than a lot of these politicos who are just with BBM until elections, and then who knows after elections kung may leverage pa si BBM over that. And I think that opens an interesting conversation, right? Because again,
Mm.
I know baka naiinis ang tao. Actually, I'm for me, hate me for saying this, a tool for Riza combination is not the worst thing in the world. Obviously,
Matagal na natin sinasabi yan.
matagal
Okay
na
tayo
natin
sa...
sinasabi yan. But obviously, what changes, Lenny is now in the equation again. And I won't mind also Lenny and Riza running together. So what I'm saying is, yes, Tulfos are the big winners. Yes, Dutertes and Marcos are doing mutual destruction. But there's a lot of room for the genuine opposition to come in. So that's where I'm slightly optimistic, brother. Cautiously optimistic.
Uh, Meron din ako mga other areas of optimism. I was just talking to an opposition leader recently. Tapos
From
tinanong
an
ko siya,
undisclosed location.
tinanong ko sa kanya, saan ka na-excite? Sabi niya, meron akong dalawang kandidato na sobrang excited ako sa local. Unang-una, Vico Soto daw. Vico Soto. So, syempre, exciting pa rin si Vico. Vico was exciting, is still exciting, and will be exciting in the future. Parang model local governance. In my other show sa Proyekto Pilipina, we were just talking to a former transport consultant of Vico Soto. He's just so progressive on so many levels. Like, he thinks that even on the level of transport, he wanted to make Pasig he still wants to make Pasig one of the bike friendliest cities in the metro,
Ang
di ba? So
granular niya, no? He's so granular.
granular siya mag-isip. And then this is a name, I don't know, inabutan mo ba to from our debating days? This person I was talking to mentioned a current mayor but who is now running running for governor of Romblon, si Trina Fermalo, who is apparently
Oh,
one of the
Gina!
great, yeah, you remember Trina, right?
Yeah,
Kasama mo,
yeah.
yes yan. And Trina
Interesting.
is running for governor of Romblon. So we know Trina, we don't know her, I don't know her well, but we know her from our debating days. But we also know na ano si Trina is an Obama fellow, right? And she was mayor, she was a mayor in Romblon and now of Odiongan Romblon and is now running for governor. And so that's another kind of potential Vico Soto kind of figure na ground up, na real forward looking. And of course, we can throw in other names there. The names you mention all the time. Alam kong taga Baguio ka, so feel free to mention your mayor anytime.
See, Mayor Magala, actually, they have the Mayors for Good Governance movement together with Vico and all. Something I
Yeah, yeah.
suggested also before, and I'm glad
Kasi
that you
Trina,
got
I'm
one.
sure Trina's probably part of that Mayors for Good Governance also.
I won't be surprised. Malaking group na siya eh. Palaki siya ng
Yeah, yeah.
palaki. Then you have Iloilo, you have a lot of interesting people out there. Yeah, I'm looking at Trina's actually. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Was Trina also an adjudicator at some point?
I think so. Basta
Parang
UPDS yan.
naabutan ko
Oo,
siyang
napunta mo siya.
yeah, adjudicate. Yeah, okay. Anyway, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, in fact, you put her on Google, she comes up with other interesting figures there na mga galing na mayors and all of that. So,
Masarap sana makausap eh, no? Kausapin natin minsan.
oh, no, no. That's my
Oh,
plan, brother.
oh,
Just go around this country. Yeah, yeah. Hindi lang dito solid North or Manila. Let's
oh,
do that. Please, if you can
oh.
arrange it. Kasi ako, bro, hindi ko alam eh. Marami akong bashers
Wala
eh.
rin akong in sa kanya. Akala ko ikaw may in ka eh. Pero I'm sure kakausapin ka niyan.
Marami akong in, pero marami ring galit sa akin. So, I don't know, man. Like, people, I have a complicated relationship with people. In 20 years of journalism. So, yeah, yeah. I'm look forward to intervene. Actually, we have to have a series of, mga hindi young goons, young guns na, running for highest office. Last point, bro. I want you to wear your historian hat now if you adjust the aperture and move a little bit out, anong basa mo what is your read of our current political moment? Because I know the last time we talked, hindi naman medyo depressed mode tayo kasi, it's like, alam mo na, the populist, blah, blah, blah. I am still not giving up on the theory that the populist moment, a liberal moment is very much with us. But nevertheless, there are also green shoots that are not getting enough attention, right? So ikaw from an historian standpoint, bro, if you were gonna adjust the apertures, what is your read of what is this? If 50 years from now, if a historian looks back, ano sa tingin mong he's gonna read into our current moment compared to the previous moments like the EDSA revolution moment, the I don't know, the 1950s post-war reconstruction moment, etc.
This could be, on the one hand, we could say na parang this is a quick return to normalcy after Duterte. Na pwede na, maybe historians will look back at, the Duterte period and say parang medyo break yon,
Aberration.
aberration yon. Nagkaroon tayo ng bona fide criminal, criminal of ano? Crimes
Criminal
against
minded.
criminal against humanity. Nagkaroon tayo ng isang bona fide
Oh yeah, yeah,
criminal
yeah, yeah.
humanity. And then nagkaroon ng rending experience sa Pilipinas. And then suddenly, ironically, through Marcos, nagkaroon ng normalization again. And then you kind of pressed play on the EDSA system once more. On the other hand, I think there's also the possibility that people look back at this moment where parang hindi malinaw kung ano yung alternatives, Marcos Duterte, nag implode sila, that people started looking for new leadership and dito nagsimula yung totoong grassroots movement that leads to kind of sustained reformism in the Philippines that allows us to think differently. So the same person I was talking to, sabi niya, we should aim for at least 18 years where we have change makers
Interesting.
firmly ensconced in government. Kasi ang problema, every time you have a change maker, I don't want to use the term reformist kasi napaka-tainted nung term. Diba? So I'll just say change maker or
Yeah, yeah.
true Democrat, liberal Democrat, whatever, or someone, or progressive. Laging naudlot kasi napapalitan lagi ng either populist or criminal, ganyan. So what we should do is start looking at this cohort of young leaders and really say, ikaw, tapos ikaw, tapos ikaw. And if we're able to do that for, 6 terms, 18 years, it not only changes the institutions, it changes the way we talk about politics. And after those 18 years, less than one generation, firmly established na yung marami sa mga pagbabago na gusto natin. And I thought that was a very ambitious but very inspiring vision from the actually pwede ko naman siguro sabihin ko sino, naninigurado lang ako, pero
Yeah, wag na, wag na, wag na.
well,
Baka
it
ako
was a very inspiring, it was very inspiring vision from the person I was just talking to.
itago na lang natin sa pangalan na. I'm just kidding.
It
Um,
was oh.
thank you for that, brother. Actually, I want to build on that. Let me now put my political science hat kasi like people forget, hindi ako vlogger lang. I'm proud of like nasa Filipino YouTubers na tayo sa Wikipedia. So it's like that's where I've reached nowadays. No, seriously, bro. So I've been looking at the analysis of Perry Anderson of three interpretations of Gramsci's analysis of hegemony, right? Is hegemony in a bourgeois democracy a reflection of a situation whereby culture is essentially the number one problem, meaning institutions of education, media, religious, among other things, induce passivity and essentially compliance with the existing order. Is it a situation of the state being dominated by a certain oligarchy that provides formal political rights but will never provide, let's say, economic and social justice? Or is it a case of a system that is open enough for social democrats and progressives to win over some positions of power, Risa Senate, but it's a situation whereby they're already conditioned not to think beyond a certain horizon, meaning still within the horizon of reformism, right? So I really appreciate it, and I've been thinking very, very, night over night over this itong issue. How do we fight the current system in the Philippines, in terms of making it a better system for people, no? I remember yung interview mo with New York Times, 'di ba? Why the Philippines is in the place it is today, 'di ba? Which is yung continuity of the oligarchy from the colonial times to now. And there was never land reform, there was never pressure on them to adopt industrial policy to be competitive like in Taiwan, etc. So we clearly have the oligarchy problem. We clearly have a mass media problem which induces passivity and distraction for politics. So I'm
Aha.
really thinking in that world, what is the role for us? Leloy, um, do you think we should fight this cultural fight? The reason I'm asking you, bro, is because you are an avowed support.
Return to Gramsci mo.
No, yeah, I'm legit, bro. I'm all in. I'm beginning to look like Gramsci now with my hair like that and no, I mean I'm serious, bro. I mean, kasi gustong-gusto kitang kausapin on this, brother. Kasi I was talking to Walden on this the other night. So Walden's point of view is very clear. More left of center. But ikaw kasi, bro, medyo malasado ka rin like me eh. Like in a sense that you defend liberalism, but you defend liberalism in my reader as a kind of an immunity from the excesses of far left, right?
Ah.
But at the same time, I know you're not, and you said it openly, you're not just a reformist too, right? So in that sense, medyo similar
Now,
tayong dalawa.
ibahid na nga yung term na reformism, di ba?
Yeah.
Especially nga if you read yung yung trabaho ni Mark Thompson, who's of course done the best work in terms of defining what reformism in the Philippines is. And if you read this work, merong sense that reformism is in fact a way to prevent fundamental change. You reform in the margins so that you don't revolutionize the system, right? And revolution, of course, doesn't have to mean parang violent, but what we're talking about is an overhaul, right? And reform here and there doesn't constitute an overhaul of the system, 'di ba? We need bold ideas and yung pipisil-pisil ka lang dito, hindi yun bold enough for the problems of the Philippines. And
Actually, it enables the
I
system
don't
kasi.
yeah, and that's why I don't like using the word reformism also dahil na rin sa trabaho ni paring Mark, na is very critical of the strain of Filipino reformism or
Absolutely.
people call it dilawan politics, for example.
So, okay, so you mentioned a while ago my change makers at the local level. Vico Soto, Trina, a number of people we can mention here. At the same time, at the national level, you have Lenny and Risa doing very well, knock on the wood. Bam and Aquino are doing their own attrition warfare. Um, where does that leave us, bro? Quote unquote intellectuals, if I can, or intelligentsia, I don't know, whatever you want to use the term for us. How can we be useful, bro, from a historian standpoint, a progressive historian standpoint, if I can use that term?
Ay, hindi ko alam. I've been grappling with this myself kasi ano naman technically member pa rin ako ng Akbayan, 'di ba? Pero may mga time hindi na ako nag-active in Akbayan for let's say, 10, maybe even 15 years. Pero hindi ako umalis formally and I think that just goes to show na hindi ko rin alam kung ano yung trabaho ng intellectuals because I thought before that to be an active intellectual means sumali ka ng partido and really engage in formal politics, gumuhit ka. But there are times when I'm like ayokong gumuhit or I don't want to be involved with ayokong sobrang lubog sa isang grupo because I do want to maintain my kind of independence. So it's always a push and pull that I've felt, and different academics have handled it differently. One of my favorite historians, for example, is Eric Hobsbawm, became very involved with New Labour at one point, which is super weird, diba? Because New Labour was considered like a right-wing deviation in the history of the British Labour
Reformist.
Party.
Yeah.
Pero kahit siya nagtaya. So itong tanong of to what extent tayo magtataya, to what extent tayo magme-maintain ng ating academic neutrality is a very very difficult question for us. And because I think and it's even more difficult for Filipinos kasi yung professoriate sa atin na engaged, mas maliit eh. So if we don't demand a lot from ourselves, sino pa yung gagawa? So I'm not entirely sure how to answer that question. And I look towards people like you to do that. I know personally, ikaw, alam ko, hindi ka wala kang partido. Of course, you have your sympathies, pero wala kang partido. And I think that's a bit of a decent enough middle ground, like to be very, like explicit about your sympathies. Like, clearly we like Risa. Clearly we like Lenny. Clearly we like Trina. These people we mentioned,
Yeah.
right? Hindi tayo Liberal Party. Hindi ako active sa akbayan, di ba?
BBM. BBM. Clear we
Hanggang
like Donald
dyan na
Yama.
lang ata yung pwede nating gawin eh. Kasi kailangan nating sumuporta pero kailangan din nating maging konsensya.
Speaking of a professor who has been active in civil society and all, of course, I think we have to mention and also send our regrets of passing of Dodong Nimenso, right?
Dodong
President of UP.
Mensa, of course. Oo.
Obviously, I look forward to really sit down with all of you guys. We have to really reflect on his legacy to the degree that you can talk about Dodong Nimenso and people like him and what they have been trying to do to breach the academy and civil society. What can you say, bro?
Alam mo, mahirap din eh because Dodong's time was very different. Dodong started politics, may Hook Rebellion pa eh. Alam mo yun? And then yung question ng pag-aarmas of the left was still a very, very live question. Right? So when we look at Dodong's career and there are people who are more critical of him. There are people whom I love and respect who are critical of him. There are people who I love and respect who love him. So for example, Jojo Abinales is writing his memoirs, his biography, very affectionate, mahal na mahal niya si Kadudong. But another friend of ours, Joseph Scalise, thinks that Dudong was not critical enough of the Stalinism of the conventional left-wing parties. Somebody like Dudong is a figure of his time, and he knew how to take a stand amid the contradictions of that period. And he was reading what Marxists were reading during that period. So I think if we want to honor somebody like Dudong, the challenge is not to replicate the kind of politics he was engaged in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, where the question of armed rebellion was a real live one. I think to take inspiration from Dudong is to continually imbibe a kind of scientific. Kaya naman yung nakukuha natin from Marxist, di ba? Kind of scientific approach to whatever the conjunctions of society presents us. And of course, like I think the other thing we should learn from Dudong is when power knocks on your door, even if you are progressive, sometimes you have to take it. Sometimes you can't be afraid of power. And we think of Dudong as an activist, but Dudong was also a university president of the most powerful university in the Philippines. And so he didn't turn his back on power when he knocked on his door, right? So that's how I think of Dudong.
The burden of responsibility.
Yeah,
This is
may
what you and
burden of
I also.
responsibility. Yeah. But I must say I'm not an expert on his legacy. It would be nice to talk to Jojo and to Joseph, who have two very different views of the man,
Yun
actually.
nga eh, absolutely. Thank you for that. For that suggestion. I just had something with Joseph Scalise the other month, pero babalikan ko siya obviously on his latest book, no. Um, Last part, bro. I wanna circle back to this kasi ayoko yung maging discussion natin mukhang cliquish na among us progressive, intelligentsia, self-pretentious, whatever. Balikan natin itong issue na ito. Obviously, I don't see a communist revolution on the horizon anytime soon. Despite all of the optimism I've expressed, I still don't see a significant change in the constitution of the ruling elite. So what we
Mhm.
have for now is what we have for now. So the question right now is how to push the Philippines in the right direction. I actually recommended to you some of the DC circles, including conservative circles and all. And one of the pieces I have an upcoming piece with American Affairs magazine, right? Um,
Oh,
and, and
What's it
journal.
about?
Yeah, journal. So I'm looking at essentially Philippines as a middle power and Philippines being part of a new industrial strategy of the West as a China-free supply chain node.
Yes,
Right?
okay.
Kasi yung as I sit, there are nickel mines not far away from me, which is not Chinese dominated. You cannot say that about Indonesia, Africa, cobalt in Africa. And then of course semiconductors. We're very close to Taiwan. My sense is eventually we have to be part of package and design and increasingly sophisticated. Again, I sit in Baguio, Texas. Instrument is not far away from me. So my
Mm.
argument is, in the meantime, habang wala pa yung transformative democratic, the social democratic change, let's just say, domestically, habang hindi pa presidente si Lenny, Risa, those type of people, we have what we have, right? So, what do you think we should do to push the Philippines towards? I think Ronald has the best term for that, modernizing elite, meaning let's just take our oligarchy as it is. Let's just nudge them in the right direction, like at least 2 degrees to the right or left, right? What is your read on that? Because you did your latest upcoming book is really on industrial policies, sad tragic history in the Philippines, but it also tells you that even our oligarchy at some point recognized the importance of industrial policy, which is going to be very important in the coming years as we enter a new Cold War and emergence of competitive supply chains.
Bro, yung isa nga palang namatay this year na medyo ikinalungkot ko, si Ma'am Lina Araneta Santiago, who was the daughter of Don Badong Salvador Araneta. And I've been obsessed with Don Badong for maybe a good 8 years now as a kind of figure for what the modernizing elite
Modernizing
was.
elite, exactly.
Kaya, pag sinabi mong modernizing Filipino elite, na-imagine ko kagad si Don Badong. And I would encourage people to research Don Badong. Kahit namatay na si Ma'am Lina, si Tita Lina, the archives of Don Badong are going to be opened up soon because they're really ina-archive na siya, linilabel na yung mga folder at saka ino-organize na based on yung letters and yung articles. And you'll see a man of very capacious mind who had an immense sense of noblesse oblige. Yung noblesse oblige pa yung like, because a lot was given of me, a lot is
You have to give
expected of me.
back.
Ganong klase mag-isip. So, ang tanong dito is, how do we build more Salvador Aranetas? Yung mga ganong klaseng elite. Because, first and foremost, I would rather that the change makers not be elite figures like Salvador Araneta, if I had my way, right? But if we are dealing with elites, if we have to accept na may oligarchy, and Don Badong, as his name implies, Don Badong Araneta, his last name was Araneta, right? He was the son of Gregorio Araneta. He's more elite than elite. He's oligarchic, but he was kind of modernizing oligarchy. So if we have to play that game, which is I sense what you think is kind of a necessary condition to play the game of Philippine politics right now. We have to play within that oligarchy. You can't do better, I think, than Don Badong Araneta. How did we produce a Don Badong Araneta? I'd like to think that the Ateneo of the 1940s had something to do with it a little bit. Yung idea of like a public service university. I think some of our universities are losing this idea that we're training people for public service. UP and Ateneo and La Salle, we should remember that we're training public service universities. Another thing was a government that reached out to the right people. Because of course, our modernizing oligarchy, hindi sila mag-active kung hindi nagre-reach out yung gobyerno sa kanila. Si Don Badong was given a platform largely because the Magsaysay administration thought he had good ideas, right? And the Magsaysay administration, at least for the first part of the Magsaysay administration, thought they could bring in a maverick. He was an elite maverick, but he was nevertheless a maverick. So this combination of a government that knows how to take risks, while at the same time institutions that produce people with noblesse oblige, we need more of that to produce the kind of oligarchs, quote unquote, like Don Badong. And I would encourage people to read his works. They've been made available naman by, of course, the lifelong work of his daughter. May she rest in peace, si Lina Araneta Santiago.
I cannot end this podcast without asking this question or lahat kasi nagta-travel nowadays at may wala kaya tayong stopover eh. Tinatanong ko, have you seen, where in the world is Harry Roque? Ang tanong ngayon, brother. Hindi ko alam
Oh
na
my God!
may series kami. Kasi si Ronald
Ano
Llamas
yung,
sabi niya,
ano tawag sa series nyo? Manhunt series?
hindi ko. Now you made a new
Naughty,
term.
naughty,
Alam mo,
naughty, naughty, naughty,
hey,
Richard.
hey, hey, bro, bro, come
Hindi ka
on,
pa ba,
come on.
hindi ka pa ba
Be, be.
nakakancel? Hindi ka pa
Not
ba
true, not
nakakancel?
true. Fake
After
news.
calling it the Manhunt series, hindi wala pang
No!
kumakancel
Hindi
sa'yo.
ako. PNP used the term manhunt. Kaya tinanong ko si General Torre. I don't know if you watched my interview with General Torre, which happens to be my most watched video ever. Tinanong ko, kamusta po yung kalagayan ng manhunt ng PNP kay ganito, ganito. Tapos sabi niya, Richard, just to clarify, are you asking me? No, 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 no. Sabi ko, ganun. And then speaking of Ronald Llamas, sabi niya, muntik daw sila nag-abutan sa Dubai kasi yun ang connecting flight niya bago siya
Oo, narinig ko
nag-France.
yun. Oo.
Oh, si Justice Carpin naman sabi niya, nag-Abu Dhabi siya and then umalis daw siya kasi nakahanap daw ng ibang lugar. So, he just ran, I'm sure it was random. I mentioned, ano bang mga bansa na walang extradition? Sabi niya, Morocco. Ikaw, why would he say Morocco of all places? Now, si Senator Trillanes naman sabi niya, gusto niya mag-ano sa Dubai. Kasi 'di ba yun yung mga social na people sa Dubai. So, I don't know bro, baka ikaw may connecting ka ba sa saan ka ba nag-connecting? Hindi alam ko
Wala, ano,
United ka na.
thanks to United Airlines,
Oo nga
direct
pala,
ako
na tayo, wala na
pa ni
tayong connect.
Papa Uwi to the Bay Area.
So maybe I'll ask Joseph Scalise. I think he's in Greece now. Not just kidding. Maybe
Oo,
Joseph on
kung
the way.
pwede siya dumano, hanapin niya.
I'm
Oo.
just I'm just saying Greece is not the worst place. I'm telling you, brother. 'Di ba? May mga grapes ka pang ganyan, tapos may Parthenon, ganyan. No, but on serious note, bro, do your podcast, okay? Everyone's looking forward to it. Can you give people updates? Kasi I'm your another unofficial promoter. No.
Lalagyan ko so for yung audience natin, actually masaya naman ako dito sa na tumatambay lang with Richard eh. Marami na akong nasasabi dito. And then for my non-partisan stuff, where I really, really bite my tongue because it's a non-partisan podcast, yung Proyekto Pilipino, happy na rin ako doon because that allows us actually to step back and think about topics na hindi wala sa headlines pero importante like stunting, nutrition, ganyan. By the way, you should try non-partisan sometimes, Richard. It's fun also. I mean, you enjoyed naman nung non-partisan ka rin sa Proyekto Pilipino, di ba? It allows you to step
Ano ka
back.
ba? I am non-partisan. What are you talking about? The only partisan
Eh,
is Ronald
May
Llamas.
nagpa-partisan tayo dito. May sinasabi natin na gusto natin si Risa, gusto natin si Trina, di ba? Doon sa proyekto, we don't say things like
Eh,
that at all. Parang ano yun, off limits sa amin yun and we made a commitment. So for the longest time, I was very happy with these outlets. Pero recently, sabi ko kay Richard, pare, ano naman, parang I think I want to just have conversations with interesting people na parang wala lang, parang ipag-inuman lang, tapos kayo nagtatanong ng tanong, ganyan, and ranging from all sorts of topics, like, yun, nabanggit mo, for example, Maggie Ochoa, parang, I just want an excuse to talk to people like Maggie Ochoa and Fanboy, di ba? And I guess it's lucky that I have I have a platform largely because of people like you, Richard, na might allow me to have those conversations in public. Sayang naman yung opportunity because I can invite these people to talk to me and I want to talk to these people. And then my wife was telling me na you shouldn't just because you've moved out of the Bay Area, of the Philippines, doesn't mean kailangan mo i-give up yung mga public engagements mo like before. So, and I know, and actually this trips, I've been approached by people. I didn't think this would happen. I've been approached by people in BGC saying nanonood sila ng Basagan ng Trip. And then last time nasa Lasal ako, may mga estudyante na lumapit sa akin saying, they remember me from their high school days from my Rappler show. So, sabi ko, baka naman baka meron pa akong asim left in me to do something more public facing. So, with the encouragement of people like Richard, my wife, not Richard, my wife. Richard is not my wife. I'm sorry. Richard Hedarian and my wife, Christine Herin.
yes. We are
I've been
one team.
getting,
We're
uh,
one team.
I've
Bakit
been
yung wife
getting,
mo nagpo-follow sa Twitter sa akin? Ikaw wala ka sa Twitter.
wala akong Twitter. May Twitter relationship na kayo eh. Independent of me.
She gives update about my ano naman mga balawra ko na naman
Uh,
away online.
Nabalita niya sa akin. So yeah,
Oh,
gusto ko sana mag-try mag-podcast this year na hindi topical, pero hindi always topical, pero always a kind of fun conversation. And I'd like to say for topical, I'd still I still love to do work with Richard for the more topical stuff because the topical stuff I think nobody does it better than this podcast lalo na pag
Ronald Llamas.
andyan na sina Ronald Llamas of course. Alam kong may competition Richard pero on the topical stuff. Pero I rely on you but I also magaling naman yung competition pare. Magaling naman yung
Well, I'm
competition.
happy about what's happening. Except,
Di naman natin dinadown yung competition, magaling
ano
naman eh.
naman.
So hindi ako papasok sa espasyong yun. Maraming magaling doon sa espasyong yun.
You know, bro, what should I put it? Why not do a conjugal podcast with Erin? I mean, she comes from a marketing point of view. She comes from more entrepreneurial. You can talk to also women leaders. Oh, I think that would be a good suggestion. Both of you work together. You're a brilliant couple. You're lovely people. I think you should.
Ay, salamat.
No,
Hindi
honestly,
ata pa hindi ata papayag si Christine doon. Pero
sige,
ma,
bubuli ko na siya. Uy, no, no, no. So, bro,
salamat.
also, bakit parang salamat mo parang Cheese Escudero? Senator Cheese, how can people follow you and your works? At saka yung mga latest works or columns, articles that people have to check out? Or interview or vlog or whatever.
I don't know, wala pa. So I'll try to reboot kind of my public because matagal ako nag-out and ever since I left the Philippines wala na. When I was still in the Philippines permanently based, I had my Rappler column, I had my Rappler show. And then I was prior to that I had an Esquire column. So I always had a kind of permanent presence, public presence before. Wala ngayon. So let's see if I can reboot that because
Oh
I
yeah,
think
2025 is
I've been remiss and I've been out of the loop. Lalo na since tapos ko na yung academic writing ko, yung big academic project ko natapos ko na. So let's see if something more public facing is the next step.
absolutely, bro.
Your
And
encouragement and your support. Thank you very much.
looking forward to that and looking forward to doing live from Senate, breaking down Erwin and Ben Tulfo's intervention in the Senate hearing with you, with Ronald, with other friends. Ang dami mga content next year. So I want to see more of you. I want to hear more from you, brother. And good luck to you. And hope we still can catch up before you leave. You don't have to give me.
Oo.
You text me na lang later. Let's just
Text kita. Oo.
uh,
Sige.
let's coordinate something, God willing, so that we can catch up and send my regards to your lovely mom, your lovely wife, your dad. I know your
Oh,
dad,
yeah.
ano, and your mga bros.
Big fan. Lots of listeners.
Thank you so
The
much.
all
Thank you so much,
listeners, my
brother.
entire family
Oh.
listeners of this show.
At saka, send regards doon sa isang politiko na nakausap mo kayo na. Just
Ah,
Di ko siya kilala. Never kami
ah,
nag-meet. No, medyo 1 month, mga 1 week.
okay.
Talk to you soon, brother. God bless. Ingat.